Thank you, Jeff. I've been in the insurance business since 1974. And in May 1998, about 3 a.m. in the morning, I get a call, and usually my wife answers the phone, but I happened to be closest to it that night. And all I could hear as I picked up the phone is, oh God, my daughter's been in an accident. What should I do, Dave? And I said, well, how come your daughter's not talking to me? Usually what I do when I have customers is I tell them not to bother their parents when they have an accident, so sometimes they can create more problems in that they get all riled up. So essentially he said to me, well, Dave, she's in shock. All I can tell you is the policeman called me 20 minutes ago, and I've just now been able to get it together to call you. But he said the policeman said she was exiting a standard station and she T-boned an older couple. I'm going there now, what should I do? And I said, well, the important thing is you get there and you call me, and I'm going to the office in about a half hour, and I'll be there when you call, because first off, I've got to call the emergency number, which I don't know by heart for all of our carriers, and I have to alert them that there's been an accident, and I have to follow up with them very carefully how that accident occurred, if there are any injuries, what the consequences will be, and you've got to alert me as soon as you get out there. So, the long and short of it is, he called me about 5 o'clock in the morning and said, she's killed 2 people. She's all right, but she's in shock. What should I do now? And I said, you've got to hold the phone. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to keep you on the phone, and I'm going to call my adjuster, because he has to leave now and go out there. Because this is very serious. And it was the first time in my career since 1974 that I actually handled a death claim. I've handled hundreds of accidents where people lost a limb or were otherwise incapacitated for a while, but never a death claim. Well, as it turns out, the 2 people that she killed, she wasn't drinking, it wasn't on drugs, were in their 80s. Now, the insurance company looks at the economic value of everybody. So when there's a death claim, they like to settle it within a week. And the older a person is, the less economic value that they have. It's a sad state of affairs, but the younger you are, the more value you are in society. These people were in their 80s. They had 2 children who were in their 60s. And I've never seen the insurance companies react so fast. They had a check to the 2 children in about 3 days for $300,000. $300,000 was the amount that they felt that these people were worth. And again, economic value is determined by an underwriter and an insurance company. But as I reflected on that night, I realized how important it was not only to give corporal advice to people, but in a case like this, to give them some idea that they should turn to the Bible or should turn to a God, the greatest God in the world, of their religion, and beg for forgiveness, because accidents do happen. Each year, in excess of 40,000 people are killed on the nation's highways. Most of them are accidents. Unfortunately, some of them are suicides. But we all have an opportunity to talk to people in need. During the last 3 weeks, as the floodwaters raised, both at Des Plaines and down the stream, there were people that were actually crying on the phone to us saying, I don't want to go back into my home. It's devastated. I'll never be able to clean it up. You've got to help me. Where should I go? And my advice to them was, take time out, go to your church, sit down, reflect that things could always, always be worse. That this is a situation that comes and goes in this community, and that'll come and go for as long as we live here. We have to have a belief in something higher than ourselves. And that's why every opportunity that I get now, I help not only those people that have a particular need in the insurance biz, but I try to tell them, look, things could be worse. Things could always be worse. Reflect on what you've got. Take what you've got and help others. Because in helping others, you're going to feel better about yourself and your condition. In 2004, on May 8th, I got another call. And it was my brother Jim out in West Chicago, and he said, Dave, I think Mom's dying. And I'm calling you first because you've got a clear head, and I want you to call my brother Joe out in New York and my sister Ann out in San Francisco and get them to get on a plane and get out here as fast as they can. Well, that was another 3 o'clock call. Nothing happens that is good at that hour of the morning. But I jumped in the car. Jim had already called my brothers Francis and Paul, Northbrook and LaGrange, and we met in Naperville where my mom was staying. And Mom was in and out of reality at that particular time. On the 20th, she would have been 90. And her words to us at that time was, I want a priest. I want to get the last rites. And we said, Mom, you are so holy, you don't need the last rites. Mom said the rosary every single day of her life and went to 6 o'clock Mass every single day of her life. And we figured the good Lord is not going to judge her on whether or not she had the last rites. But she insisted, so we called the local parish, got a priest over. And my mother's words to us at that time was, where's Joe and where's Ann? And my brother Jim was a bit of a card, said, Mom, all the important people are here with you right now. You don't have to worry about Ann and Joe. We're the ones that take care of you. And again, we had a schedule all mapped out, or who visited Mom when, and Joe came in once a year, and my sister came in a couple of times a year. So we felt that, you know, all the important people were there, because these are the people that Mom saw all the time. And she said to us, now that I've had the last rites, I've got the strength to hold on, and I'm not going anywhere till Joe and Ann get here. So 2 days later, when Joe and Ann showed up, she passed on. And, you know, the spirit of people is remarkable. And I tell you that story because at the end of her life, my mother had nothing left. She had given everything away. At Christmas time, she used to take all of her jewelry and give it to the daughters-in-law. And by the end of her 89th birthday, she'd given away the furniture and sold the house and so forth. So she said, you know, I came in with nothing and I'm leaving with nothing. You can have my memories, and you can have the deeds that your father and I shared with you along the trail of life. And that is, always trust a person's actions over what he or she may say. Actions always speak louder than words. And so I try to pass that message on every chance that I get, working with my customers day in and day out. And I know you do too. So thank you.
Questions?
Yes.
All right. Does anybody have any questions?
And that's a true story about my mom. She was a strong Irish woman. So I had to pass that on to somebody. So thank you.
Dave, did you say you were, how many years have you been in the insurance industry?
Since 1974. And I gotta tell you, I love it because I was telling my wife, each day that you go to work, you become a problem solver. I mean, basically everybody that has insurance has pretty much the same product because the state of Illinois dictates that an HO3 policy from State Farm, Farmers, any of our companies, is identical. A life insurance contract, they're all identical. You cannot separate the wording from one policy to the next. But it's the message that you sometimes get from your agents that's important. So I'm trying to teach my son Pete, and hopefully pretty soon Matt, and maybe Andy down the trail, that these are important things that we grew up with, both in scouting, which Ian knows, and living your daily life. If you live it correctly and live it by example, then you don't have to say much at the end. And I think that's, again, a real key, which we all try to do. Mary Ann.
Can you say a few words about long-term care insurance?
Yes, long-term care insurance is very expensive. To give you an idea, Judy and I bought long-term care insurance in 1954. I'm sorry, 1994, Mary Ann, I'm sorry. 54, my God. I was just a rebel. I was born in 43. So I bought it, and basically I bought a 5-year policy. That is, when you go into a nursing home or you stay at home, you can have your choice. It goes for 5 years. It gives you $200 a day. There's a 90-day elimination. And both Judy and I have the same contract. And that was $3,600 a year. We pay $3,600 a year, year in and year out. If either one of us dies before we use it, it's all down the tubes. Now, there are contracts today. The Hartford sells one that gives you a money-back guarantee, but it's expensive. Anytime you get your money back, it can be very expensive. To give you an idea, I'm 70 now. I looked at their contract for Judy and I, that is the Hartford contract, and at 70 for me and Judy at 65, it was $10,000 and some change. And again, you put $10,000 a year in it, if you do it for 30 years hopefully, and then you die before you use it, somebody will get that money back. But that's a lot of money. I'm sure you could put it into a mutual fund or whatever Jeff would recommend, because I feel that if you have a history in your family where you got some major disease, cancer, heart condition, diabetes, you know that you're overweight and can't do anything about it, a sexually transmitted disease, one of those, and you know it's in your family or in your genes or in your DNA, then I advise buying one of those kinds of contracts, because if you know it's a family history, then you better watch out for the future.
What percentage of your clients get long-term care? Would you guess?
Oh, 3%.
Oh.
Yeah, we have about 1,000 clients. We probably have 30 people with it. Yeah, well, just a little over 1,000 now. Jeff?
Dave, tell us a little bit about everybody in Hartford knows how involved you are in the community. Tell us a little bit about your attitude about being involved in the community.
Well, Ted knows, and I've heard Bill Sherringhausen say the same thing. It's not what you have, it's how you use it, and what you give away at the end. And I truly believe that because, again, I have a broad gamut of customers, and I feel the people that are the happiest are in the middle. Not the rich guys, that are very few of our customers, and not the poor people because they're working too hard to get by. But the guys in the middle, the people in the middle, the women in the middle, who are reaching out to others and trying to make a difference in somebody else's lives, I think are really happy. they realize that the material things that they may get or have, if they can share that with somebody else, they are doing God's work. And I really, truly believe that they get more from giving than they do from receiving.
Dave, you said that you tried to share your, using your faith when people are, pretty much screaming for help, you're pointing them to the church. Do you do anything kind of on a more day-to-day when people aren't, in a crisis?
I wish I could say yes, but it seems like the time that I hear from people the most is when they have a major problem.
Right.
And again, that death claim, it's the only one I've ever handled, by the way, was an eye-opener to me because it separated me from the corporal writing of policies and delivering a product and that kind of thing, from realizing, incidentally, that girl has never been the same. She's never worked. She's a virtual shut-in. She lives at home yet. Never married, never goes out. And the tragic part about it is the family has spent hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to get her in the path. And I actually sat down with her at one time about a year after the accident, and I said, this stuff happens. I mean, I can't tell you how many accidents I handle every year. I mean, you could be sitting on a stoplight or a stop sign and somebody runs into you. They're just not paying attention. And I said, I don't know whether you looked right, left when you exited the standard station, but you didn't. And you can't go back. You can't relive your life. And you say to yourself, what's happening in this mind, in this body? And how could I have helped, made her better, or made her help, been more consistent, or talked to her more? But I don't know.
That's why we pray.
Yeah, that's true. Thanks, Jeff.